The Shaper Origin, a birthday boon bestowed upon me, beckons invitingly from its perch in my workshop. For a full turn of seasons, this remarkable tool has been my trusted companion, a constant presence in my creative endeavours. Its allure lingers undiminished, a complete workshop ingeniously condensed into a compact, portable case. This particular day dawned with a handful of petite projects in mind: a radius rounding jig to perfect curved edges, a saw blade cradle for safe storage, and a larger plate for the Shaper station to expand its capabilities. The existing plate, a tiny thing barely larger than my palm, rarely saw use beyond serving as a template for its larger successors. Its limitations were evident, and I set about shaping a new one to better suit my needs. I started by carefully slicing a small strip of plywood with my trusty table saw, its dimensions already nearing the desired size. The familiar whine of the blade cutting through wood filled the air as sawdust scattered. Then, with meticulous attention, I fashioned a sturdy foundation for my rectangular workpiece. The minuscule monochrome markers, reminiscent of dominoes in their orderly arrangement that the Shaper Origin needs for navigation, must precisely align with the surface to be carved. At least I presume so, though I'm not entirely certain. What I do know is that coplanarity is key to ensure accurate cutting. Frugality, or perhaps a touch of stubbornness, led me to forsake the official Shaper tape. Instead, I opted to use the workstation itself as a pre-prepared positioning plane. With this done, I affixed my panel using double-sided tape, a decision I'd soon come to regret due to its unexpectedly tenacious nature. The struggle to remove it later would prove a lesson in adhesive selection. Scanning the area allowed the Shaper to survey its workspace, creating a digital map of the terrain it would soon traverse. This wondrous widget works wonderfully, its precision never failing to impress. To align the design with the panel, 3 reference points are required, 2 at the front, providing a baseline, and 1 on the side to establish depth. From these, a virtual grid emerges, guiding the placement of the design with uncanny accuracy. With the meticulous setup complete, zeroing the bit sets the crucial depth of cut, and the carving commences in earnest. Following the screen's guidance, I guide the rotor with steady hands, its movements minutely adjusted within set tolerances by the machine's intelligent system. It's surprisingly simple, almost intuitive, like an extension of my own hands. Drilling the multitude of holes was admittedly time-consuming, the repetitive process a test of patience. Perhaps this isn't the Shaper's strong suit. A traditional CNC might have been more apt for this particular task. There's a clear trade-off to consider: the Shaper's swift setup and straightforward design phase versus the actual cutting time. Both machines have their merits, their strengths shining in different scenarios depending on project size and cut complexity. Post-drilling, I switched to a palm router to add subtle chamfers to all holes, the small tool buzzing happily as it beveled each edge. Flipping the piece allowed for bottom beveling and hole finishing, ensuring a professional look from every angle. A quick sanding with progressively finer grits and a paste wax finish left the plate looking lovely, its surface smooth to the touch and gleaming softly in the workshop light. It screwed securely to the workstation, its increased size notably enhancing its utility. There's a slight flex due to the longer lever arm, but it's sufficiently sturdy for its intended purpose. With a satisfied nod, I marked the first mini project as complete. Swiftly, I shifted gears and moved on to crafting cam clamps. The machine setup took mere minutes, a testament to the shaper's user-friendly design. This was followed by an enjoyable 10-minute cutting session, the machine humming contentedly as it carved precise shapes. It felt remarkably like playing an engaging video game, complete with an auto-aim cheat activated. The blend of digital precision and hands-on craftsmanship was truly satisfying. The double-sided tape, however, proved problematic once again, its grip too strong for easy removal. Mental note made, a less aggressive adhesive is needed for future projects to save time and frustration. Unable to locate my router table collet, I found myself improvising with clamps and a palm router, a word of caution to fellow woodworkers. This method felt precarious at best, and I remained poised to retreat at the slightest sign of trouble. Safety should always come first in the workshop, and this makeshift solution was far from ideal. Dowel cutting began smoothly, the wood yielding to the bit's sharp edge, but soon hit an unexpected snag. The bit's plunge depth was insufficient, leaving me with partially cut pieces. Undeterred, I swapped for a longer, thicker bit and resumed cutting with renewed determination. This time, success. 4 fine dowels emerged from the wood, their cylindrical forms a testament to the machine's precision. A simple table saw cut separated them from the main piece, the satisfying crack as they came free music to a woodworker's ears. A quick clamping test confirmed functionality, the dowels gripping firmly as designed. Gluing the dowels into the cam clamps and cleaning excess wood with chisel and sander completed the process, transforming raw materials into functional tools. A wax application left them gleaming, second mini project accomplished with a sense of pride. Curious about wedge clamping, I marked some angled shapes on a plywood scrap and headed to the table saw. Halving the piece with a clean cut, I carefully checked the angle with a protractor and set the complementary angle on the sled. The result was impressively accurate, the angles meeting with satisfying precision. Sanding cleaned up any minor imperfections, but the wax finish I initially applied proved counterproductive, requiring another round of sanding to restore functionality. Another lesson learned in the ever-evolving journey of woodworking. My old corner rounding jig, marred by an unfortunate notch, had long been due for replacing. Seizing the opportunity, I decided to create multiple radius options for greater versatility. As before, I scanned the work area, set the digital grid with care, placed the design with precision, and started the cutting process. The shape emerged gradually from the wood, each pass of the bit revealing more of the final form, satisfyingly accurate in its execution. Switching to an engraving bit, I added clear radius numbers to each jig, a vast improvement over hastily scribbled Sharpie marks that tend to fade over time. The crisp, permanent engravings would ensure easy identification for years to come. The wood-to-tape ratio seemed better optimized this time, secure enough during cutting to prevent movement, but not overly difficult to detach once the job was done. Small improvements like this make each project more efficient than the last. Feeling uncomfortable with my previous improvised routing setup, I embarked on a determined search for my proper collet, only to find it, somewhat embarrassingly, in my pocket all along. Properly equipped at last, I added pleasing chamfers to the jigs, the rotor humming contentedly as it rounded each edge. This simple step enhanced both their aesthetics and ergonomics considerably. A quick progression through sandpaper grits completed this set of graduated rounding radii, leaving them smooth to the touch and ready for use. Next on the agenda came the jig holder, a custom storage solution to keep my new tools organized. The now familiar routine of taping, scanning, and design placement preceded the enjoyable cutting process. In hindsight, using shapered tape on the plate and cutting all pieces at once might have been more efficient, but the methodical approach had its own meditative charm. Detaching the small pieces proved unexpectedly entertaining. Leaving a thin connection during cutting keeps everything aligned and adds a satisfying pop when separated, a small but pleasing tactile reward for the work. Table saw cuts yielded 4 rails destined to connect the jig holder sides, the saw's whine filling the workshop as it sliced through the wood with precision. The shaper Origin then stepped in to cut clean tenons, meticulously preparing the rails for a snug assembly. The chamfering process went smoothly, each piece gaining softened edges until disaster struck. The smallest piece was unexpectedly consumed by the ever-hungry dust collector. Its metal fan made short work of the delicate wood, destroying the piece beyond salvation. Laziness, or perhaps pragmatism, prevented me from crafting a replacement. The jig holder would make do with 3 rails instead of 4, a slight asymmetry that would serve as a reminder of the day's adventures. After thoroughly sanding all remaining pieces to a silky smoothness, I carefully marked and drilled the back rails for wall mounting. A dangerously improvised spinner serves as a cautionary tale in this step. Always secure items before drilling to prevent potential injury or damage. Finally, the anticipated glue-up time arrived. The perfectly cut joinery assembled with satisfying precision, each piece fitting together like a well-crafted puzzle. Clamps ensured proper drying position as I moved on to the next project, the scent of wood glue lingering in the air. Organizing my various saw blades became the next task on the list, a necessary step in maintaining workshop efficiency. A single piece of plywood cut to size with care sufficed for this purpose. The usual scan position cut routine yielded the desired result, though one side required recutting due to a slight miscalculation. Even experienced woodworkers make mistakes, and the ability to correct them is part of the craft. Quickly cutting the back and bottom of the blade holder, I assembled it with a combination of wood glue and brad nails, a fast and sufficiently strong method for this application. While I'm not generally fond of plywood joinery for fine woodworking, it served perfectly well here for a utilitarian storage solution. Both holders received a coat of black spray paint, the fine mist settling evenly on the wood, though in retrospect I found myself preferring the natural wood look, appreciating the grain and texture that paint conceals. For the rounding jigs, I cut small sections from an iron bar to create locking studs, a crucial component in their functionality. The spark-filled process was oddly satisfying, tiny flecks of glowing metal flying as the bar was sectioned. Grinding the bits held securely in a drill smoothed away burrs, producing more delightful sparks in the process. There's a primal pleasure in metalworking that complements the subtler joys of woodcraft. Epoxy, mixed carefully to the right proportions, secured the studs into the rounding jigs, with a bond stronger than the wood itself. While the epoxy underwent its chemical transformation, I turned my attention to cutting planks at a precise 45-degree angle for French cleats. This foolproof attachment method requires minimal precision in installation while providing a secure hold, making it a favorite among woodworkers for wall-mounted storage. Marking, drilling, and installing wall plugs preceded the final step of screwing the cleat to the wall, a straightforward process that belies the clever engineering behind this hanging system. With the jig holder's glue fully cured, I applied a generous coat of tung oil finish. Its distinctive aroma, powerfully evocative of my grandfather's workshop, filled the air as I worked it into the grain. The oil enhanced the surprisingly attractive cheap oak panel, bringing out depth and character in the humble wood. This final mini-project complete, I stood back and surveyed my work before carefully mounting everything on the workshop wall. Though modest in scope, the result was deeply pleasing, a testament to a productive day's work and a tangible improvement to my workspace. As I admired my handiwork, feeling the satisfaction of tasks completed and skills honed, my gaze fell upon a stack of wood being delivered for my next project. This one will be slightly bigger. Its allure ignited a spark of excitement for future creations. Until next time, the workshop waits, a sanctuary of creativity full of potential and promise for the projects yet to come.